Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast. That is the Fire Away Podcast. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's do it.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fire Away. I'm Mark. I'm here with Fred. How's everybody doing?
What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man? The podcast where we like to fire away at anything and everything.
Anything and everything.
All right, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Fire_Away Podcast, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. Click that little plus sign up in the right-hand corner. Subscribe to the show. You'll get reminders every other week when we put a show out. And we are going to work on putting out more content. We're going to work on putting it on more platforms. We're going to get it there, Fred. We're going to get it there, buddy.
You do that so much better than I could ever think of about the whole follow us and the plus sign and all that stuff. You roll through it smoothly. I'd be fumbling all over the place. You got that down pat. So, you know.
I practice.
Kelly, make sure we put that in there. So if Mark's not around, we can just cut that right in there.
Cut that intro in.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark's the intro guy. He's got the voice and everything. Smooth like butter.
I like to practice in the bathroom.
Smooth like butter. Yeah, no, another episode of Fire Away here. So what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Doing good. It's good to be talking to you, Fred.
Always a pleasure.
Yep. Just the same old here. Around work, just grinding, and I like to get on the mic, and when we record these shows, it's a good little break in the everyday reality of what we do here, and we get to have some little fun and put out a show.
Absolutely. You know what? I think I'm listening to myself talk here, and I just thought about what you were talking. When I pop my peas, I think I'm a pea popper.
You're a pea popper.
I'm a pea popper, yeah. It comes out pretty smooth. And Kelly's shaking his head. He's going, yes, you were definitely a pea popper. Because I can, every time I use a P word, I can do it now. I can hear that like crackle. I'm gonna have to try to settle down my
That's cool, man. It's cool. It took you 5 months to figure that out, but it's all good, man.
Hey, at least we figured it out. You know what I mean? Better late than never.
I hear it. And that what it was just the last episode that was put out where Mark was turning his head too much and voice was trailing off at the end, and I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes. So we have these little things that we're trying to work out, and obviously to better the show, and we're going to get there.
Well, let's also keep in mind, although our equipment from Rockville Audio is good, it ain't great.
It ain't great,
but I think it's working for what we've got going on right now. Heck
yeah, man! This is still awesome. Like I said, who would have thought? You'd have told me a couple years ago we'd be doing a Fire Away podcast. Just for whoever wants to listen to it, man, how much fun is that?
Well, so, and that leads you to a good point right there, right? Whoever wants to listen to it. One of the things we need to start doing, we got to figure out how we get some listeners in on this.
Yeah.
So, and it's important for those of you who are listening, provide us some feedback. What are some things and some ways that we can get some more listeners? Are you guys sharing it? Are we promoting it enough? Are the content good enough? Is it entertaining? Is it not entertaining? We need feedback from the Fireflies, as Antonio would like to say, Fireline Jack. So please, by all means, we're asking you guys to give us some feedback, to go on Instagram and send some messages. Good, bad, or indifferent, we don't care. We're good to go. We got thick skins over here, so if we're not doing something well, let us know. We don't
do this just for us. I mean, yeah, we get it, but we created this for employee engagement, right? We want everybody to listen. We want everybody to be engaged, and we're going to keep putting out the content. We're going to keep doing our promotions, and we're going to keep getting better at it. But we want to hear from the audience.
It's important. It's important.
So you can do that on Instagram. You can do that at the Fire Away email too. I think it's fireawaypod at fireline.com.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from you.
I know we're going to try, and we're looking into, again, I think we've talked about this in the past, putting it on different platforms.
Yep.
As soon as we can kind of get that wrapped up and out there, we'll definitely let everybody know. We do understand that some of you out there are Android users and not Apple users, so not always easy to jump on Apple Podcast. So we're gonna try and put something out there so it's a little easier for you guys to jump on and listen.
We talked about it in a past episode about accessibility and how there's everything's so much more accessible. So this should be no different, right?
Accessibility, isn't that one of our 3 customer service pillars? Imagine that.
So yeah,
what are the other 2, Mark?
Efficiency and
I threw you on the spot.
Yeah,
you know it.
Courtesy, sir.
Courtesy.
Courtesy and efficiency. Yes.
I didn't mean to jump on you like that.
No, you did. My whole brain turned off there for a second. So
Well, I'm getting older. My brain turns off all the time too. Kind of bad. Like we had another episode a while back where we were talking about Christmas movies, and I was like, yeah, the one with Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. I knew the name of the friggin' actor, I couldn't think of the name of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old. But anyway, so I tell you what, we got some exciting stuff around Baltimore, around Maryland. One thing I think would kind of be fun to talk about leading into this is the upcoming O season.
Yeah.
They come off of a heartbreaking, divisional playoff round against the Rangers, who went on and ended up winning it all.
Man, they were a buzzsaw.
Yeah, they got hot quick, but they had a lineup that was just unbelievable. But going into this season, I'm looking for some good things from the O's. I'm hoping that they spend some money in this offseason. There's been a couple transactions
Just got
that
a
already
reliever
happened now.
So a veteran reliever they just got.
Yeah. Lent over from Philadelphia. I think he came over.
Yeah,
So I'd like to see him spend some more money. I think they could use They could use a stud bat in the middle of that lineup to surround these other guys. I think a stud starting pitcher is something they could use.
Yeah. I think they keep Santander. I think he's going to be that bad. I don't think he's going anywhere. I do think there's going to be some other changes. You're going to see some new faces. I'm super excited, which is I feel like all of Baltimore is too, for Jackson Holiday to make his major league
Impending debut is coming
so
down the pipe.
That's coming. It's super. It's exciting. As always, that it used to be when Ravens football was over, it was okay. I can't wait for April, and then after opening day, it would kind of start to wear off a little bit for me. But after last season, I am,
for sure.
It's
you got these diehard fans out there, understandably so, who even though they're losing, and God bless them, you know what I mean. And I was a fan too, but I was the same way, right? I can't say I was in every single game like some of these other guys are, and that's a fantastic thing to be able to do. But moving forward, yes, they brought excitement back to Baltimore, excitement back to me. My daughter loves watching it, and we're looking forward to a good season. So. Let me ask you this now. You talked about Jackson Holiday. The Orioles obviously are looking for some new talent to come in. I mean, there's some moves they need to make. Some of them moves are going to be free agency moves. Some of them moves are going to be trades. Is Jackson Holiday tradable or no?
No. To me, him, Gunnar, and Adley are the three untouchables. You build the next 7 years around those three guys. And then once their contracts are up, then you got to figure out.
Throw Grayson Rodriguez in there though too.
I would throw, he's they spent way
rotation.
too much time developing him to let him go somewhere else. Everybody else is expendable. I hate to say it. I like Cedric Mullins, but there's no shortage of outfielders in the system right now. Same thing with middle infielders. As much as you like Jorge Mateo, he's not going to be an Oriole next year. People
probably not.
And then even Mountcastle, sorry, power hitting first basemen are a dime a dozen.
I think I may have heard they actually extended Mateo.
Did they?
I think they did. I have to look into that, Mark, but I think they extended Mateo for another year or two. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. Now who's the other utility guy? Frazier. So Frazier, the second baseman.
Frazier utility, and so was Urias.
Yeah. So I've never been a Urias fan. Now look, you say what you want. The guy's got a gold glove. He's got a gold glove. He's an amazing defensive player. To me, the offense is just way too inconsistent. But I guess you could say that about utility players. It's kind of why they're utility players, right?
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people frowned upon David Frazier coming in when they brought him onto the team. But I tell you what, he added a spark, and he seemed to. His numbers. Look at his overall numbers. You're going, what did he provide? But he did provide some moments when you need
tie his best home run year that he's had in his career,
and he hit him. I mean, you always need a home run, right? But there's those times when they just have a little bit more of an impact.
Yeah, he showed up in some big times for the O's last season for sure.
So, are you? Do you catch a bunch of games? Do you hit it? I mean, how did you get last year?
Man, there ain't a game I don't watch. Honestly, if it's not on the TV, it's on my phone, and whether it's I'm actually watching it or refreshing Score Mobile to watch it, digitally and not watching the actual game. I'm checking up on the scores every day.
So what's your favorite platform when it comes to a ball game? What do you like to watch it? Like to listen to it? You like to be there?
Man, I would say it definitely used to be there. But then the older I got, it's the same thing with football. The older I get, I just want to be on my couch, watching the games where I watch it a little bit differently because baseball was such a huge part of my life that I get into it. Like I can really appreciate how good these guys are. And I don't know that a lot of people can unless you understand the game, where they make it look so easy, right? That's why they're paid millions of dollars, because somebody hits a 105-mile-an-hour ground ball at them and they catch it and throw them out at first base, and they make it look easy, but
Right.
in reality, it ain't easy, right? So I like to just sit in my house, and I like to watch it at my pace, and without the distractions, and really appreciate the game for what it is to me, anyway.
And you say that, which my favorite is listening to it on the radio. You get a good broadcaster, you get a good announcer.
We've been spoiled in Baltimore with some really good
100%, right? But you talk about understanding and knowing the game, and I feel more so than any other sport that I've been a part of. And I play a lot of sports and been involved with a lot of sports. But the sounds of baseball in the summertime, with the windows rolled down, radio turned up, and the crack of the bat, and the roar of the crowd, and a good announcer. I just love the sound of baseball. I could listen to a baseball game.
I will agree with you there. I have memories of being down at the beach down in Ocean City with the game on, WBAL, and you just crank it up, and the excitement in the announcer's voice when something good happens. And it draws everybody around like, what's going on, to me, baseball is beautiful to me. It's always going to be my favorite sport, hands down.
So you mentioned that you played the game, and I'm assuming that means you played the game, not just little league and t-ball. You got a little more advanced playment from that.
From the time I could walk until college. So I stopped playing my second year of college when I was 19. So I got to college early. I was in college at 17. I played for a long time. From what I can think of, it was probably 15 or 16 years of my life I played baseball. And then as a kid, you're playing all year round, as much as you can anyway. Fall ball, summer ball, then high school ball on top of it. So, you're in 3 different leagues all year long. So, up here in Maryland, unfortunately, we can't play in the wintertime. But we would join indoor batting cage leagues and all just to stay fresh. But I played for a long time. It was my first love for sure. It's growing up down in the city. It's what kept me out of trouble. It's what kept my friends out of trouble. We get home, we do our schoolwork, and we'd be over the park playing baseball. And if we weren't playing baseball, we were playing football or basketball. But most of the time, it's a little harder to play baseball. You got to gather up a lot more friends to play baseball. We would play catch. We would play what we call rubber ball fast pitch is what we used to call it, where we would just go to the store and buy a bunch of rubber balls because we would split them in half, But there's a basketball court over at the park we grew up at that didn't have any basketball hoops. So we would play baseball in there, and it was small. It was the size of a basketball court, but maybe a third, 3/4 of a basketball court, and then we would just, 4 of us, batter, a pitcher, and 2 fielders.
Switching around.
Yep, and we destroyed our arms. To this day, I destroyed my arm throwing a rubber ball as fast as I could as a kid. To where
I don't need no rotator cuff. I'm good.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you don't think about that when you're a kid.
No, you don't.
As much as your parents try to tell you. My father was a coach of mine in Little League for a long time, and I pitched a little bit. It was hard, because I was left-hander, and my father was right-handed, so it was hard to learn mechanics correctly. And I didn't even realize until I was in high school that my mechanics were jacked up. But by that time, it had already destroyed my forearm. To where it literally had tendons that were messed up in my forearm, and it affected my college career that I couldn't even throw a ball across the diamond anymore.
Is that right?
So I was an outfielder, and then as my arm progressively got worse, I had to play first base because I couldn't throw the ball. But I could hit a baseball. Like, that was my thing, and I'll die on that hill. I can hit a baseball. I don't care about throwing. I can play defense, but I could hit with the best of them. But it did. It definitely certainly affected me as my career kind of progressed. High school is one thing, you can kind of make do. But by the time I made that leap and you could see the levels, like that's when I started to realize the different levels of talent.
Where'd you play college ball?
So I played college ball locally at Catonsville.
Okay.
I had a scholarship for Frostburg to go to Frostburg and play.
Nice.
But it was only a partial scholarship, and because it's Division II, you can only give out partial athletic scholarships, and it was still too expensive for me to be able to attend. So I stayed local, went to Catonsville, walked on because I didn't have any scholarship. At 17 years old, I was the only walk-on on the team. Everybody else was from Florida or Texas. That was a transfer. So it was like Last Chance U. I don't know if you ever watched that show on Netflix. So we was all kids that were extremely talented but too dumb to play at universities is what we were. And we were, my freshman year at Catonsville, we were ranked 16th in the nation. We were the number 1 JUCO team in the state.
Oh, wow.
We just destroyed people. Now, we did go down to Florida and play like Central Florida, and we got destroyed. So, again, there's levels in baseball when it comes to talent. But here locally, we were extremely good, and it was just because it was that we had a lot of talented kids that were just, too dumb to attend a university, and the coach at the time was really good at
Like the
recruiting
land of
these
misfit
kids.
toys.
Yeah, we were really good. He was really good at recruiting and bringing these kids from other states. He would go down south and recruit in Florida every year. It would bring these kids up north. And I remember, in college we had a snowstorm one year, and half the team had never even seen snow before.
Because you said they're allowed for down south.
Yeah, it's all like Texas area and Florida area. So it was kind of cool to experience it with those guys. But
Sure.
so we had a really talented team. But here I found myself, I was the youngest guy on the team, and our second baseman at the time, Juan Cartagena, was 26 years old. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of things you run into at junior colleges as well.
Last gasp there.
Yeah.
He's still at it though.
Yep.
So what caused you to filter away? Just because 2 years of school was over and that was it?
Yeah. So in junior college, you only have 2 years of
Yeah.
eligibility. So it's crazy. Somebody asked me this before. So growing up, I don't know if it's with the area we grew up at, but my friends, if you would have asked us, what our dreams were, it was to be a baseball player. We had no other dreams. It was never to have a career and to raise it. I was going to be content because that's how I was raised, with whatever put food on the table for my family. Right? I never cared what I did for a living. But if I had a dream, it would have been to play baseball. As you get older, you realize that that's not a reality, right? People say, I seen from the step from high school to college that the dream was over. I knew when I went to college that I wasn't as good. So I was a very good baseball player, and I'm not bragging. Anybody who knows me can tell you that. Look up the papers from '99. You'll see. But
On it, Kelly.
I was
You got a computer open. Let's see it.
yeah. So
Fact check, bud. Fact check.
Yeah, all county. I played with Mark Teixeira in high school, who went on to have a career with the Yankees.
He was like Montgomery County, right? Wasn't he around that way? Okay.
Gavin Floyd, who went on to pitch for the White Sox and then some national. So I played against those guys.
So did you face them?
I did. I played against. They went to Mount St. Joe. I played
Yeah,
for Cardinal Gibbons. So we were rivals in high
So
school.
hey, did you hit off of him?
I never faced Gavin Floyd as a pitcher. He was younger than I am.
Okay.
But I did go to head with Teixeira, who was another first baseman, and I was the first baseman for Gibbons. And let me tell you, I'd never seen a ball hit so hard past me that Mark Teixeira hit a ground ball. That's what I was saying about, these guys hit a ground ball and they make it look easy to catch it. I'm telling you, the ball was past me before I knew he hit it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, it was a whole other level. And then when this guy stood on first base and I'm holding the bag, he's a grown man.
He's a big boy.
And I'm 16. He's probably 17,
Yeah.
maybe 18 at the time. And it's just like, wow. Like, you just made differently. You know what I mean? There's no effort.
But that all by itself, though, Mark, just knowing where those two guys went, knowing where Mark Teixeira went, and went on to become a really good Yankee, and along some other places he played, and but just knowing that you were standing toe to toe, right next to it, played on the same diamond as a future really good major leaguer. I mean, that's got to be cool. I mean, there's
cool.
moral victories, right? But I mean, that's just something that you got to look back on, saying, yeah, I competed and had some fun.
It was one. And, I was lucky enough to go to Cardinal Gibbons, where it used to be St. Mary's Boys School, which is where Babe Ruth played.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Very cool.
So Cardinal Gibbons, before it was Cardinal Gibbons, was St. Mary's Boys School. The field is still there because they can't do anything with it. It's historic. So it's the same field that Babe Ruth played on when he was a kid. It was just reversed. It used to be facing the other way. So I got to play essentially on the same field that Babe Ruth played on. And so that was always something special.
Did they use that? Did the school, did coaches use that as motivation? Was that part of I
mean, it was definitely in the Cardinal Gibbons culture for sure.
Okay.
That Babe Ruth was there, and playing baseball, you just couldn't help but hear the stories of the Babe Ruth thing. So I guess to kind of answer the original question, which brought on this was why after 2 years. I had always been one of the better players on my team, from little league to high school. I was, silver slugger in high school. My friend Nick was the MVP, and we were neck and neck. But Nick could pitch like no other, plus hit. Where again, I was just sitting on first base. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Sure.
I couldn't throw the ball. But when I got to college, I seen what it took to be a better player on that team, and I knew I didn't have it. I was the kind of guy, I dreaded practice. I was also working in between seasons now. I started to have a job. So I'd seen these guys that would show up early for practice. And then after practice, they're over there with another coach or their parent, and they're running sprints, or they're playing long toss, or they're working on their swing, and I just want to go home. You know what I mean? So I knew that I just didn't have what it took. It was kind of a reality check. It was a hard pill to swallow for sure. And I held my own. Like I did. I was ahead of, for JUCO anyway, I had a very successful college career. But I remember making the phone call to my dad on my last day of baseball, and in my car crying on the hill of Catonsville in the parking lot overlooking the field on the phone with my dad, just saying that it's over, I'm done. I had gotten hurt, and I had gotten taken off the roster because I made myself ineligible, because when I was hurt and I couldn't play, I stopped going to school. So then I essentially failed off the team because I wasn't in college for anything but baseball.
Sure.
I mean, that was it for me. I wasn't there for an education. I was there for baseball. And I remember when I got the news that, hey, you're done, just again, if I had a dream, it was baseball. And now here I am. I have no idea who I am.
So that reality check, that dream kind of faded right then and there.
Then and there. And to me, it was always baseball. If you asked anybody in my city, my little neighborhood growing up about Mark, or you mentioned Mark, it was the baseball player. You know what I mean?
Mark the baseball player.
That's it. It's who I was in high school. It's who I was in college. And now all of a sudden I'm not. And I have no idea what my future is going to hold.
Sure.
I had no plans, no nothing. So, it was. I can still picture that whole day, to the T of when it all stopped. But, one thing that never did die was my love for baseball. And then almost 20 years later, I started to coach high school baseball, and it kind of brought that whole thing full circle.
Are you coaching now?
I am not. No, I stopped a couple years ago just because of my career here at Fire.
Sure.
It kind of takes precedent. But it brought back that memory and that love of the game, and being able to pass some of that down to the younger generations. And I was glad I did it for the 3 years that I coached, for sure. It was a great experience.
Now, do you, looking back over that career, looking back even up into college, are there any regrets? Do you have any regrets, or you're?
Yeah, for sure. My regret is that I didn't put the work in. You know what I mean? You have your whole life to be an adult and to work for a living. You don't realize that baseball is going to stop one day when you're in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now that I know that, I learned coaching quickly that I can't do anymore. Right? They say those who can't do teach. I thought I could still hit the ball a little bit, but I'm like, hit a ball in the gap, and I'm like, easy double, and then they throw me out at second base by 40 feet, and I'm like, things have changed.
Yeah,
but,
he throws harder, I run slower. I'm not sure.
Something's going there. So, but that would be my biggest regret is I knew, I'm telling you, from my first day of practice in college, when I showed up for practice, there was guys taking BP, and I knew right away, oh, things are different. Like, I seen guys hitting balls, and I'm like, wow, that used to just be only I could do that.
Right.
And now you're telling me the whole team can do that? I knew then it was going to take extra work to set myself aside. And I just don't know if I could have found that motivation, but I wish I would have at least tried to find the motivation to work harder at it.
I got you. So today's mark.
Mm-hmm.
What would today's mark? Oh, kind of based off of this question we normally have here on the Fireway podcast. So Mark Meyer of today, what advice would you give Mark Meyer starting high school ball? Let's go back to high school ball. What would that advice be as far as baseball career goes and things that you need to do? What advice would you give yourself?
So Lou Holcomb was my coach.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Oh, he's still a recruit. He's still in baseball. He used to pitch for the Maryland Terrapins. He was my sophomore year. He took over as the coach in high school, and he told me that. He pulled me aside. He said, I know you're supposed to be the star of this team, but you're going to have to work just as hard, if not harder, than everybody else. And I would have gave myself that same advice and said that has to continue for the rest of your career. No matter how good you think you are, you have to work harder. I would say harder than everybody else.
Agreed.
To stay that guy. So, he actually, that coach we took on. So my senior year of high school, we won the B Conference championship. And I'll never forget it. We went from an 0-14 team my freshman year to winning the B Conference championship my senior year. Lou Holcomb retired after that. He was done. He went out on top. We all cried in the locker room together. We all hugged. We were going on to college and doing other things. But I still remember that conversation. How old are you? A sophomore, 14 or 15.
Yeah.
When he pulled me aside. And it was a reality check because I was, I was cocky. I showed up like he came in, said, I'm the new coach. We're going to have tryouts. And I was like, tryouts? Come on. And he pulled me aside and was like, no, you're going to have to work harder than everybody else.
You feel you took that advice?
Oh, I did in high school for sure. I did in high school for sure. It made me a better ball player.
Good.
And what it really did was it made me a better teammate. to where I was very blessed that I never had to play JV. I was varsity from freshman, and then it allowed me to be a better teammate to some of the younger guys coming up to really help them and show them, you know, by me working hard, I think they could see that, you know, a talented person. And it was a lot. It wasn't that I think that was part of my problem. I never had to put in the hard work. You know, I had
it came in a little natural to you.
Yeah, so when I actually started working harder, it was a good role model. So that's what I would say. That's the advice I would give.
That's good advice you can give to anybody, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what you're doing, work harder than anybody else. Outwork them. You know, there's a lot being said. You hear stuff on the radio about, you know, different Ravens and Orioles and different, you know, professional football teams, basketball teams, you name it. This guy's always the first one in, last one out. First one in, last one out, right? There's a lot to be said for that. You know, Kobe Bryant was that same kind of guy, right? Kobe was the first one in, last one out, right? And he had all the talent in the world. So I think that goes a long way. I think that could be lessons that could be learned for anybody in anything that you do, right? You know, work harder than the next guy. Mm-hmm. You know, work harder. So, man, that's a great story, Mark. I like I said, I'd heard that, you know, you had a little bit of a baseball career in the back. I know that you played some college ball, but not to what extent. You know what I mean? And that's a cool story, man. I appreciate you sharing that story with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's going to wrap us up for this edition
episode
of Fire Away Podcast. So be sure to you know, follow us on Instagram.
Yep.
Apple
Podcast. Away Podcast on Instagram and Apple Podcasts. Click that little plus sign up at the top right hand corner. We'll talk to everybody next time.
There he goes again. See ya.